Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. If you haven't finished your holiday shopping yet, don't panic. We've got a secret source for incredible original gifts, and that's Uncommon Goods. They've got unique handpicked gifts for everyone on your list all in one spot. I'm currently scouring the site for an upcoming white elephant party. They have so many truly original items such as customizable ornaments, a pickleball paddle snack tray, and hand-painted floral flat candles. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, and not the same old selections you could find just anywhere. And even better, with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they'll give $1 back to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/dateable. That's uncommongoods.com/dateable for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Yes, we all know the quality of makeup and skincare products are important, but have you ever thought about how you apply them is even more important for results? Since 2019, Anissa Beauty has been leading the way in creating vegan and cruelty-free makeup and skincare brushes that are safe for your skin and the planet and are designed to optimize the application and absorption of skincare products. Their popular Pinnacle foundation brush has made such a big difference for me. I used to hate wearing foundation because it always felt so caked on, but with this brush, I can use so little product and it goes on flawlessly due to its patented triangular shape. Anissa Beauty's brushes deliver value and quality like no other. The same goes for their Pinnacle Skin Brush, which has completely changed how I apply skincare. I no longer use my hands to apply my products. Check out the Pinnacle Foundation Brush as well as several other amazing brushes at anissabeauty.com and get 30% off site-wide with the code DATEABLE. That's ANISA beauty.com. And don't forget to use the code DATEABLE. Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Krafchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Dateable.
We may sound relaxed, rejuvenated, maybe all the words that you feel after you go to the spa, because Julie and I just finished our annual Dateable retreat at a very exotic location. Secret.
I feel like when you put that up, people probably thought you were serious, but we were basically at like a semi-retirement community in Orange County.
Wait, hold on. Okay, let's back up. First of all, yes, we were in a city called Mission Viejo. If you live there or are from there, good for you. No shade to you. We actually really like the city.
It was beautiful.
It's very, very quiet. We chose this place because we wanted somewhere that was close to LA because we needed to be in LA for some podcast recordings and just some other stuff that we need to do. And we didn't want to drive too far, and we wanted somewhere that was quiet where we can work on some brainstorming and just relax. And my parents live in Orange County, and I remember driving through the city that had its own lake. It's a man-made lake. It's called Lake Mission Viejo. And Julie just happened to find an Airbnb near there while we were doing our search. And we thought, why not? Let's do it.
This was right before Thanksgiving, so it was kind of like a little last minute. We also this place looked nice, but fairly affordable. So it was like, it was the perfect place. I think last year, maybe our retreat was a little more thought through in Joshua Tree. Next year, we'll strive to be a little bigger. It's just been a busy year, to say the least. So it kind of came up at the last minute. We're like, we should do something, though.
Did you not feel the same magic in Mission Viejo as you did in Joshua Tree?
No, overall, I did. It was funny, though, because if you know me, you know I love hot tubs. Love hot tubs. And just being in water. I'm a Cancer through and through. I love being in water. It is my happy place. And this place had a pool and hot tub, so I was really excited about that. The pool was definitely way too cold this time of year, even though it said heated on the Airbnb. But
no.
It was not heated.
No.
But the hot tub, I was like, we got to go to the hot tubs.
She was adamant.
I was adamant. I really wanted to go to the hot tub.
Yes.
So we did a little, I don't even know if we should call it a hike. It was
It's
a
in
walk.
the community that it's like a 5-minute walk to that area.
Oh, sorry. I was talking about our walk before.
Oh, that hike.
So I'll back up. We had big plans to do a walk around the lake. And then we realized you had to have like a resident permit, right?
Well, there's actually no way to walk around the lake, even if you live on the lake. There's just no walking path. You can only walk around the outside street of the lake.
But didn't you need a resident permit to do that? Or like you're supposed to?
If you want to go on the lake with a
got
private
it.
beach and all that, you have to be a member of the lake.
Okay, so there were a few barriers that caused this walk to not happen. So we went to like this local park and did a walk there. We actually, I think it was really nice. It had beautiful views. We kept hitting dead ends because it wasn't like a real trail.
Yep. And we kept thinking, hey, it's like modern dating. Yeah. You think you're on a trail and you think you're getting somewhere and then dead end.
We definitely had an idea to film a video, but we did not film it. But we did have some really good ideas. It was really nice to do that walk. I'm really glad that we did it.
It's a FloJo Park in case anybody wants to find this secret park that has no trails.
That kind of FloJo, flow state. It was all good.
Yes.
But we got back and I'm like, okay, we got to go to the hot tub. It starts raining, of course, when we are timed to go to the hot tub. We walk there. We get there. It's only like a 5-minute walk. It's not that far, but it's raining. And we realized that you need like a key fob to get in. And I was just like, no. But luckily we did have it at the place. Like at first I thought we just like didn't even have it. So we walk back. Then we get the key fob. We get in, which was good.
Yeah.
We took some photos of the hot tub. It was really nice. So we were in there for a while.
We were the only ones there. No surprise.
We were the only ones there. It did have a roof. So we were like, not like a full roof, but it was covered. So we didn't get super wet. But my mom, when you posted that photo, she's just like, that hot tub looked disgusting. She's like, it was like green. Did you get like a rash from it? And I'm like, no. I think it might have been the filter maybe, or the way the photo was, because it didn't look bad. But I did find it kind of humorous that we like put it up on Instagram to be like, this is what we're doing. And she's like, that's gross. That was the reaction.
I did get a minor rash on my arms
you?
after.
Oh my
but
God.
I don't know. I don't know what it could have been. I think it was the hot tub. I also didn't think it was that gross while we were in it, but I do remember there was a guy that came in with his bike while we were in the hot tub, and he kind of made a comment like, nice way to spend the rainy day, but he also gave us a look like,
he's like, you're the first ones to go in there.
He kind of looked like, wow, these girls are not from around here, are they?
Okay, well, I survived without a rash. Maybe it's questionable if you did.
And you were happy because you got your hot tub time in. I'm happy you got your hot tub time. We have to do this every year for our retreat. We got to make sure we find a place with a hot tub, because there was one last year
too. Yeah, but it was really good. I think just being in person. I mean, that's clearly the theme of this whole episode, so it really goes hand in hand. But just being in person, like obviously Yue and I are talking all day, every day. Like you are my most text person by far. And I see you every day through video. And it's not like we aren't connected. And we always like we do like a weekly meeting just to talk about like what's going on. And we always end up like shooting the shit for a big portion of it too. So it's not like we don't have that, but it just feels so different in person.
Yeah, we can just like vibe off of each other's energy. We came up with some really fun, interesting, rejuvenating ideas. And it was energizing. I would say it was definitely an energizing time to be together. And what is really funny is that the first night we went down, our friend Jamie is going through some stuff at work, and she's like, I just want to hang out, or I don't know, I just want to do something that's distracting. And it was like 4 or 5 p.m. on a Friday, driving from LA to Orange County. If you know this area, that is the worst time to drive from LA down south. It took us 2.5 hours to get down to Orange County. And Jamie's like, I don't mind. I need the long drive. She did the drive. She shows up in Mission Viejo at our Airbnb, and she opens the door. She's like, where are we? Like, what is this random place? It was amazing. But she came down. We played a very fascinating board game.
Yeah, our Airbnb host, they had Socialist Monopoly. And given the area, one of my friends from college lives there. Shout out to Bree. We saw her the next night.
Hi, Bree.
She has warned me that it's definitely a Trump area, like very very Trumpy. So I'm going to take that this was not because they are socialist, but because it was a mockery of socialism. I don't know if a socialist would buy the socialist monopoly, because it definitely was a little tongue-in-cheek and mocking, but it was quite fun and very different than regular Monopoly. We were confused.
I learned something about socialism. I learned the difference between socialism and communism, and then I learned what the ultimate purpose of socialism is. That game was actually very educational.
Yes, but I also realized why socialism doesn't always work in theory, because it was very difficult to understand the game.
Well, what's funny is like Julie kept like wanting to accumulate more properties, which is like a very capitalistic way of thinking about it. In this board game, you don't own the properties, you just manage them. And that's not how you win the game. So by the end, Jamie had won the game because she had basically you contribute the most to the community. That's how you win. But Julie was so concerned with hoarding properties, she totally forgot the purpose was to like give away contributions.
And then like right before she won, I was like, oh my God, I could have won this a long time ago.
She had like 10 properties that you were managing.
If this was real Monopoly, I would have crushed it.
Correct. And that's the learning from the game is, yes, in capitalism, you would have won. In socialism, nobody wins.
I do kind of want to buy the game to play it because it was really fun and it was very different. So,
yeah, it works your brain in a different way. And if you played it, please let us know because it was our first time seeing it.
Yeah, it was also really fun. I do want to give some other, like we had some business meets, I guess, like people in our Dateable network. I don't know if business meets is the right word, but we met up with Allie Goldberg, who runs the show Love Isn't Blind. She's been a guest before, so it was really just fun to like get dinner with her and shoot the shit, brainstorm. And again, she was like that person that you had met her in person because you're both in LA. Well, I met her too. I shouldn't say that. I met her at the Love Isn't Blind show, but she was like performing, so I met her for like 2 seconds. It's just like one of those people that you feel like you know, but it was really nice to like actually like get into it of just making that like, you know, real life friendship.
And she does this live show. So when we say this show, it's a live dating show where it's like matchmaking dating show, but the men cannot speak.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. So look it up online because she does tour the country with it, and she pulls local people into, you know, participating. It's a really fun interactive show.
I mean, again, so in theme with this episode, we're going to be going into it with our guests today, Harrison Forman and Brandon Berman, who run the show Updating, which is another dating show. And I think like there's just such this opportunity right now to take these shows and use them, one, for entertainment. Everyone just wants to get out and about, but also as a way, an untapped resource to meet new people. So a lot going on with that. But we also got to see, or I got to meet for the first time. Again, it was one of those virtual connections for me. Yue had obviously met her before. Rory Uphold of Crimes of the Heart. We got to record live in studio with her for her podcast, talking about our upcoming book, How to Be Dateable. So that was so fun to do the in-studio recording.
And that was our first time doing an in-studio podcast recording where we were the guests. It was at Melrose Podcast Studios. A lot of big podcasts record there. They were wonderful. And it's so fun. It's definitely, again, a different vibe if you're in person.
Totally. I think just, again, this so rejuvenating. I think that's what's missing in today's world. And I'm going to transition it to our episode because, you know, it goes so hand in hand. While I think virtual, online, there's so much merit to that. It makes things possible, makes it that you can meet new people that you wouldn't have ever come in contact with. It allows us to do this podcast when we live in different places and still stay connected. Again, so much beauty there, but there is this lack of like this magic that like in person brings. And we're really going to dive into that in the episode today about just like meeting people in real life and having those magical moments and bringing that more into dating again.
So if you are feeling like there's just no one good out there and the apps are draining, and where do you go to meet people? This may be that sort of restart or refresh that you may be looking for. I think it's very inspirational to hear how other people have met these connections and what you can start thinking about too.
Yeah. And this is kind of a fun fact that Harrison, who is one of our guests, and he was joined by his co-creator and co-host of Updating, Brandon, his friend, that we got the pleasure of meeting virtually for the first time. But Yue and I actually met Harrison, what did we figure out? It was like 2017?
Something like that.
It was like a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
8 years ago, roughly, we met him in person. I think he had reached out to us because he was like doing Facebook Lives at that point. This is when Facebook Lives were really big, and he would go on dates and like do his like, it was like almost like a sports casting update, remember?
Oh yeah, like a play-by-play of his dates. Yes.
Yeah, he wouldn't like video the actual date because that's weird, but he would like do like a break, like a bathroom check-in in the middle and give like the update and then post date. And he was kind of like ahead of his time, I think, because this is like so common now on TikTok and stuff. But back then he was in a world of his own with this. And, you know, he moved to New York. Him and Brandon started this show Updating, and they've been really successful with it. And I think what's fascinating about it, it's like basically two people are going on a live date in front of an audience and, you know, having this experience. And I think what's also great about it is they were saying that not only are the people up on stage able to like meet people, but in the audience they are too. So there's just this organic connection that kind of comes from the whole event.
Yeah, maybe that's the word. It's organic. Organic connections is what we're all kind of striving for. And you don't need to, I guess, like you can go to a live dating show to experience this, or this is for anybody who may want to explore what's inside their network already, or even expand outside of their circle, because you never know who your friends know, who they have in their network. And if you put yourself in the right environment, those connections can really organically develop.
Totally. And this is what I've observed in the last couple years, is that in the pandemic, our only way was apps, right? That was the only real thing. There was no like all IRL events and connections to extended networks were cut. So everyone was using dating apps. And then that resulted in massive burnout because, you know, dating apps, like while I think they are a phenomenal tool, I met my partner that way, they do require effort. And if you really get sucked into like the dynamics of them, you can really expend a lot of time in the wrong places. So that I think is frustrating. But what I've noticed coming out of it is everyone wants to meet in real life. That's the thing, right? I just want to meet in real life. But what is the challenge is that people want it to be like this silver bullet because dating apps are so hard. So we've heard people say like we've got this on like Instagram and stuff, like, you know, I go to my hobbies like an animal shelter and volunteering, and no one single is there. It's like we expect like we go out and then we meet someone like immediately. And I don't think that's realistic either. It's not that like IRL versus apps. I think both of them require effort, and there's no like silver bullet, even though we think that.
Well, then people are drained by going out.
Yeah.
Right? Like I told you about the friend I met up with yesterday. He's like, I'm sick of going out to meet people because it's the same shit, and I don't meet anybody when I'm out. And of course, like you're going to be drained if your only purpose of going out is to meet someone and you're actually not wanting to go to that place.
Right.
Like he was going out to clubs. Like,
totally.
Yeah, if you don't like going to clubs, and then when you do go and you don't meet anybody, of course, that's going to be disappointing and draining. But if you go do something you really, truly love, if you don't meet anybody, that's fine. If you do, that's the cherry on top.
I mean, this is so cyclical, right? Because this is why I feel like I liked dating apps when they came out, because of this. It was exhausting to like always be on and having to go to all these places or going out and then not meeting anyone. And I really think part of it is that that's not the way to meet in real life. Like there has to be some organic connection. And I mean, this is why I started 500 Brunches back in the day, because there wasn't like a good place to meet people. And the idea was like you would just be there for brunch and meet organically. It wasn't under like a romantic context. Like either you just happen to hit it off with someone, which did happen, even for me, but then you also could just meet new friends or meet new people that might know someone else. And I think that really is the truth of all networking. Like thinking about even just professionally, when do you go to a networking event and walk away with like a solid contact?
Yeah.
It's
or a job.
Very rarely. It's usually like basically like building up a connection and relationship with people or through a friend that knows someone. Like there's always like a connection.
Yeah, you and I were talking about this at our retreat because even if you're taking this out of the romantic context, I've told you I always struggle with keeping relationships with people I meet at networking events because I don't know how to do that authentically.
Right.
But I can surely develop friendships with people in an organic setting where networking is not the main goal. It's actually just getting to know this person. So I need to, in a professional context, put myself in those environments where it's more organic.
Yep.
Friends with friends versus going to a networking event where the sole purpose is to like get something out of someone.
If you're looking at it that transactionally, like I'm going to go to a bar or I'm going to go to this event so I meet someone to date, like it's just setting you up for failure. It's not going to work. But I think what I love about this conversation is clearly updating what they do for work and for the show and all that is one avenue that's now turned into a little more. But both of them share their own personal stories of how they met their partners that were very organic, that were very, it didn't happen instantly. It was because they developed things over time and it was through connections and how they met people. That I want to put out there more of just like, how do we think about like meeting people in real life in a different way that actually like can result in something.
It's also a different way of looking at this phrase of just get yourself out there. Just put yourself out there. And we've used that as a blanket piece of advice for so long. But this conversation will help reshape the way you think about that phrase because it's not just about physically getting yourself out the door. There is a way to put yourself out there that gets you the results that you want.
Totally. I don't know, Yue, like have you ever just met someone that was a total stranger that you ended up dating? Like without a connection. For me, it was always friends of friends or some group or something that like evolved into more.
In New York, that was like everyone I dated. It was just like all strangers.
Total stranger. Okay, well, so it's not like it's not possible. In today's world, though, I think it's harder. Because that was also like a long time ago.
Yeah, that was when people wanted more organic connections going out. Like, yeah, that is what the primary way of people to date back then. But now it's not. Like, I just don't see people really connecting in the wild.
Yeah, and like we're not saying if you're out and about and you see someone you want to talk to, by all means go up and like shoot your shot and try to like talk to a random. I just feel like from my experience, it's been a lot easier to like break in when there's some commonality and like you have like a group that's like connecting it, even if that's like a very loose group. Like I remember going to a birthday party with a friend of mine and I didn't know who the birthday girl was. And then I met someone there that was like a friend of hers that I didn't know, like 3 degrees separated, right? But there was something about like we were in the same like community and group of a birthday party, even though neither of us knew this birthday girl.
Yeah, and then you have a topic you can discuss. You have some commonality. It's just, it's like it makes sense. It's a way to get in. That is how I currently date. I mean, the last 3 were all from my current network. And I actually think if I were to be single again, I would still do the same. I would go back through my network in my memory and think, who are the connections that I would like to explore a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to dive into this one because it's such a great conversation. It's fun. It's light. It's hopefully will inspire people to try things a little differently, but also just they're good storytellers and it's fun to hear their stories, if nothing else. So anyways, before we get into it, quick announcements, pre-ordering our book. We are in the final stretches now. We are 2 months to go, which is so exciting. We are getting to January faster than I think anyone can imagine. I still can't believe it's like already like we're into December at this point. Like it's wild. Crazy. And we're like in the thick of holidays. So this time is going to fly by. And let's be honest, this is kind of a dead zone for dating. So treat yourself, get the book so you are ready to go in the new year. You can also get all of our extras for free that you can use today. So if you want to kind of prep yourself even before the new year, those are instantaneously yours, but also this gift will arrive on your doorstep when you're back into the real swing of dating. So what a good gift to give yourself. howtobedateable.com.
You deserve it. You deserve this gift. And not to toot our own horn, but I am going to toot our own horn. This book is the answer to figuring out dating. We figured this shit out because it took us 10 years to get here. We wanted to share this information with everyone because if you can understand the framework around how you can stop being wrapped up in the BS of modern dating and how you can get out of it, how you can rise above it, and how you can find a relationship or a love life or a partner who is the right match for you, then why wouldn't you want this information? That's the question. Like, wouldn't you want this? We want to share this and we're giving it to you. Please take it.
Yep. And you can listen or read, whatever your preferred method is. I think this is really exciting because I think the audiobook and the physical book are so different, yet they really can be catered to whatever is preferable for you. And like you said, reading a book or listening to audiobook is still a lot less time than it took us to figure this out. So we're really excited to bring all of what we've learned into this digestible format that we think is really fun. It's a fun read. It's not going to be like a draining dating book. Like this is going to be energizing. You're going to leave feeling hopeful. And our editor described it as a big hug.
We should put that as a quote.
We should. That should be on the cover. A big hug.
That should be the title of our book.
Yeah.
It's a hug.
But we do have a really good quote on the cover. From
we do.
Greg Barrett He's Just Thought That Into You. So that was a good one.
Definitely is. And you can pre-order the book. Again, howtobedateable.com is the website. You get all your information there.
And you can also just Google it pretty much on any of the main sites, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, all of them. We're there. We're ready. Cool. Okay. At Dateable Podcast, also can find us there and check out Dateable Podcast for courses, programs, our relationship readiness score. We're still in beta with this, but we're getting there. We're going to just check in with some of the people that have done it, get some feedback, iterate, and then push it out more mainstream. So if you want to get in early, then go do it. It's also free, so why not?
Yeah. How ready are you for a relationship? Ooh.
Yeah, we've heard some good things so far from people. So excited to get more and more feedback and continue to make this a really useful tool for people.
Yes.
Okay, well, before we get into it, let's hear a message from our sponsors.
With this holiday season, I have some major aspirations of learning a new language so I can be better prepped when I travel internationally next year. I feel like being able to speak the language in the country I'm visiting can open doors to meaningful conversations and better cultural appreciation. I mean, how else am I going to get the lowdown on how people date locally? And now with Rosetta Stone, the most trusted language learning program, I can make those new language dreams a reality. Available on desktop or as an app, Rosetta Stone truly immerses you in the language you want to learn. For example, there are no English translations, so you really have to learn to speak, listen, and think in that language, allowing for fast language acquisition. And the built-in true accent feature gives you feedback on your pronunciation, just like having a personal trainer for your accent. Don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. For a limited time, Dateable listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership holiday special. This offer will not last long. Visit rosettastone.com/today. That's unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your holiday offer at rosettastone.com/today today for yourself or as a gift that keeps giving.
Want to add some holiday cheer into the bedroom? Spice up your life using the natural power of cannabis with Via. We're obsessed with their best-selling High Love Gummy that really intensifies any sexual experience. With its unique blend of pleasure-enhancing cannabinoids, libido lipo-strengthening herbs, and a medium dose of THC, Via's really created one mind-blowing gummy. You can even get their High Love bundle either as an early present for yourself or a loved one. I personally like their THC-free gummies too. Their Flow State is my fave because you guessed it, it puts me into that right focus. So whatever your threshold, they have you covered with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independent-owned American farms. If you're 21 plus, head to viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE to receive 15% off. That's VIIA hemp.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Take your passion and pleasure to a whole new level with High Love from Via Hemp. Okay, let's hear it from Brandon and Harrison.
Woo! It's a party. It's a four-way party right now. Harrison, welcome back to Dateable. We haven't seen you in 8 years. We've seen you, but we haven't talked to you on the podcast in 8 years.
8 years. Yeah, it's been a long time. No, I mean, it's great to reconnect. Long overdue, for sure.
So much has happened in those 8 years, and you are now running a very popular dating show called Updating with your co-host, Brandon, who we also have here. We're excited to have you.
Yay, Brandon.
Excited to be on it. Wow, 8 years. That's a long time.
Congratulations on such a popular show. It's so much fun, and it's like reminiscent of those old school dating shows that used to happen in person or live on TV. We just don't have those anymore. So congrats on the success of the show. But we really want to focus on both of you today because you're both in relationships with serious partners. You're living with your partners. Well, Brandon, we haven't gotten to know you yet. So how about we start with you? How did you and your partner meet?
Oh, yeah. First off, love my partner. I'm one of those guys. I like my life. I met her April 2021, kind of when like the pandemic was ending. Our show actually had just come back from a year hiatus. And yeah, I moved into a new apartment. My first time living alone, I was 26. I had a neighbor next door who was friendly. I met her. I was just looking at her apartment. I was in her room and I saw a photo with her and a friend. And I go, oh, like I made like a subtle remark, like, friend's very cute, kind of looks like Mila Kunis.
Oh.
I have a type I'm very into. Like I literally made a remark. I go, that's like my type. I love girls with like big eyes. And she, you know, she's beautiful. And then, yeah, I left. I didn't ask for her to set us up. Like a week later, my neighbor, Rachel, texted me saying, hey, like my friend Mel's interested in you. And I was like, who? And I'm not one of those where I'm like, so I remember the remark I made. And I was like, that's awesome. Then we went on a date a week later. One date the following week, one date the following, and then that was it.
Oh my God, I love that.
Wow. That's so cool.
It's a juicy story. Didn't you think she wasn't that interested in you after the first date or something?
The beginning of the date, I didn't. It was a horrible date, and then it ended up being the best date. It went from like there to there.
Wait, how?
It was a weird time, right? Like it was like a weird where people were everyone was kind of awkward, and I got there early and she was also early, even though now I know it's not her personality type. We sat down and it was just not a good vibe the first like 30 minutes. And I was like, wow, this sucks. And then I went into the bathroom and I was like, you know what? Like, maybe I should loosen up, even though I thought you know, when you think you're being loose and you're actually not.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got back, I'm like, I'm actually going to be loose. I don't care. And then it just took off from there. And we went to a second spot and then she looked different.
Oh.
It was as if like in part 2 of the date, I'm like, I'm with the girl I saw in the photo. I wasn't with her before.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool. And that was it. And I made sure our first date, I'm like, I'm going to make sure I plan the second date right now. There was never a game. She doesn't care enough about certain things to like, she wasn't looking for a boyfriend. And that was it. It just worked. It was good timing in my life when I met her. I was like happy that it happened then, you know?
Love that. I want to go back to like this later about just the switch that happens. I think there's even more to unpack there. But Harrison, I'm curious about your story and how you met your current partner and how long you two have been together.
Wait, why is Brandon laughing?
Both of our stories are juicy in their own way.
Oh, okay, good. Ooh, I'm excited to hear.
But yeah, no, I've been with my girlfriend Lauren for 8 months. We already lived together. We moved in after month 3.
Wow.
So things ramp up in your 30s, I guess. I'll give you like the mini story. So I do a lot of the casting for Updating. I saw Lauren on TikTok post a video about like dating in New York. Like she actually went viral, like posting about her own dating life, and invited her to come on our show. She said, absolutely not. I would never do anything like this. Like, she's like, you have the wrong girl. Like, this is not for me. And then she said, oh, by the way, I have this podcast. Would you want to come on the podcast? So I went on this podcast. We became very fast friends and mixed signals on and off for like 3 months. She was setting me up with her girlfriends to go on dates. I was telling her she needs to be with a tall guy. I was kind of a little insecure about like my height with her, which had never happened ever before. And in New York, you hear it all the time. Like these girls are like, I need someone 6 foot and above. So I was like,
it's interesting that you were telling her to be with a tall guy. Okay.
I know. Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Also 5'6" is like not that tall.
It's not that tall. Yeah. It was a total defense mechanism for whatever reason. So long story short, feelings started developing. There was one little interesting part of our journey too, where I was planning a trip to Tokyo. I invited her because we were friends. And so I said, hey, do you want to come to Tokyo? And she immediately said like, of course, like, let's do it. So I was in shock. Brandon was in shock. All my friends were like, what's going to happen? You're going on this platonic trip to Tokyo with this girl. And we booked seats on the flight in different rows because we didn't want to be next to each other. It was extremely bizarre. Yeah, very bizarre. And we actually had to pay a seat change fee once we eventually like broke past the friend zone thing.
Then you could sit together.
Yeah. I just realized, all right, you're going to Tokyo with this girl. Like, you can't just be in the friend zone either. You got to make a move. I had a crush. We kissed on New Year's. The rest is history. So we went to Tokyo as together instead of originally where we were going to go as just friends.
So by Tokyo, though, were you into her? Like, were you wanting it to be more? Okay.
Yeah, by Tokyo, we were dating.
You were exclusive right after Tokyo. It wasn't before it, was it?
No, we were boyfriend-girlfriend at Tokyo.
Oh.
Did it happen during?
Wait, Brandon, I feel like you have some commentary about the start of Harrison's relationship.
I thought Tokyo was when you became like, I have this like timeline off. I thought you got back, then you guys like, all right, we are now officially dating. And then like...
Well, the Tokyo was like, all right, if this trip goes well, when you travel with someone, that's a really good sign, right? So so it went well. And now here we are.
Wait, so how long after Tokyo did you move in together?
2 months after Tokyo.
Okay, so Tokyo was like 1 month.
Tokyo was like 1 month into being in a relationship.
Oh, I see.
What I love about both of your stories is it wasn't like the smoothest start to begin with both of them. I think so many people we talk to are kind of like let people go at that point, right? It's like not the immediate action of moving into something. Obviously, with the friends first approach, Harrison, like how do you think building that foundation actually helped the relationship?
It's a really good question. It actually helped in a lot of different ways because when you're seriously dating, like this person should be your best friend. I was already organically hitting her up to hang out. Like I wanted her as a new friend. I'm like, yo, this girl's cool. Like, and I would just start calling her randomly to hang. So I genuinely wanted to be around her. That's what happened before any of the other stuff.
It's important to have some sort of rapport. And like, I think in dating, when you go on a first date, it's really hard to build that rapport. Like Brandon, with you were like, there isn't much here. This is like not a good date right now. And I think most daters would have been like, nope, not for me, not my thing. But then you went to the bathroom to reset. What do you think was like the impetus for that reset? What helped you shift?
I actually think it was like a chemical thing. I always acted a certain way on a date. I didn't really care about impressing her, which I found unique, that I was organically acting a little bit different. So I'm like, that's a good thing. Like I didn't feel this need to like even be that funny. Like I used to try to be so funny on a date, like, and I was like, this is interesting. Like I'm comfortable for no rhyme or reason. And I think even though the beginning of the date wasn't going great, or at least I thought it wasn't, prior to this date, I went on a month where I'm like, I'm done with it. I don't even need anyone right now. I'm 20 something. And I kind of stopped dating because during that period, like the end of the pandemic, I was serial dating because I was so bored. You go on Hinge and it was fun. And this was like a month after that. It was also because I felt like she was actually down to earth for some reason. I sensed that. I can't describe some of the girls I had gone on dates with. And I'm sure Harrison's met a lot of them. Like New York City has some of the worst human beings on the face of this earth.
Oh, jeez.
People that like, I'd be on a date and like, I went to like Albany Like I didn't, and a girl would be like, wait, like you didn't go to like Wisconsin or Syracuse. I'd be like, I don't know where you're.
Oh, like for college.
I thought you were like, I went upstate to find a girl and not, okay, got it.
And I make up things in my head, but like there was something about this girl that was down to earth or about Mel. And I just sensed it. I was like, let's hang here. And I was absolutely right. Like she's like the most down to earth, least judgmental, like, actually a good person. And that was like what drew me to her. I sensed it.
I think what I love about your story so much, Brandon, it's like we hear all the time, people go into dates with this like date talk and like being this person that they're not really in life. Like I know for me, that was a huge thing that held me back. I was in this date persona that wasn't authentic.
Yeah.
And we've actually coined this term on this podcast, so it's kind of funny, this like bathroom reset. We've talked about this before. Like if the date is not going your way, like take a break, go to the bathroom and like, let's change the energy up. And that is exactly what you did, which is kind of funny that it's playing out. But I guess like, was there something to you that was like, I need to give this more of a shot instead of just cutting bait?
I felt the vibe. And I also said, like, you got nothing to lose here. I'm actually going to be myself. It was like one of those things where like sometimes like the universe is like, just go out there, like loosen up. Like there's something right here, regardless of how I feel like this is actually like a good person.
It's so fascinating because I think there are a lot of parallels to your show. The clips I've watched, people are so performative when they're blindfolded. They like say anything they want and they get a little cocky. The minute the blindfold comes off, they get super insecure and vulnerable and then start talking more softly, I've noticed. And then they start like backtracking on some of the answers that they've given. So I would love to hear from both of you. Do you remember the moment you felt the most vulnerable with your partner? Like the first time you're like, oh shit, now I really have to show myself.
She forced me. Like she like anything I did that was like not my, she was like, no, like you have a bad stomach. Go to the bathroom. Don't be embarrassed if I'm, that I was like, I don't want, like it was the stuff like that. Like she forced me to like kind of what Harrison was saying before. Like we immediately became like best friends / like I kind of acted around her the way I'd act around my sisters. Like she forced me to be. She's like, no, like, I want to see you, like,
blow your ass in the toilet.
Blow your ass. Yeah, no, literally. It was awkward. But yeah, she's like, well, she wanted all that. And I was like, all right, like, I guess I'll be vulnerable. Like, I have a really bad stomach. Like, I basically could do anything. She made it so I could do anything I wanted around her. Like, it was like this safe environment. Our closed doors literally are our closed doors. Like,
I really think that's the key to a healthy relationship.
Yeah, that's a good one, Brand. So the first time for us happened pretty early. Honestly, it was really just us and, in bed late night, just kind of talking about like, what do we want from life and all that. And I think I opened up about some family stuff that I never really told any girl before. And then she opened up about stuff, and that just kind of created that vibe. Because I always tell her, like, if I just want to be fully honest and transparent all the time. So when she was like, okay with that sort of level of honesty, that was really cool to me. So that was one of the early moments that stands out. And then, future one, when I met her parents. So, yeah.
I mean, that's ultimately what relationships are about. And I think with dating, we put up like such a front sometimes. And when Harrison and I were chatting about like, where do we go with this conversation for this episode, you said something to me that was really interesting about your show. That like the way you like to think about it is like you're helping people get to like that 7th or 8th date instead of like being on this like first date that's stiff, that's uncomfortable, that's awkward. Can you tell us a little more about that and like how your show works that you get there?
I forgot. I used to say that all the time. Sometimes you lose track of like that like verbiage of like, I think it's an energy, right? I think some people could abruptly ask a question and it comes off like, whoa. I think our show, it's like you're going through a tunnel of serum. You're in there, you're brought in, and then you're sort of backhanded a question that you didn't notice, and it suddenly brings you into a further place without anyone noticing. That's kind of what the whole show is. It's like you are essentially traveling into whatever, a 7th or 8th date with someone without realizing you just did that. And even after the show's over, you don't realize that's what you just did, but you know, it cuts all the BS out. And like, you know, I also think in real life, if you are on a first date and found out a lot of what you find out going on updating, like it'll make your life a lot easier. You'll understand your whole thing, which is something we don't even talk about, but it actually is a good method.
Is that because you're like asking deeper questions of people, like facilitating that?
I always say it's never the question. Comfort gets people to open up. You could have someone sitting down with someone at dinner who says 5 words. I have friends like that. And I'm like, why do I keep saying this in front of you?
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know. You like, it's just making people comfortable. Like I said, anyone could just ask a question. A tone and a vibe is different. There's an atmosphere with updating. We even notice it with different venues. Sometimes you do a show at the wrong, if the lighting's bright, someone may not open up. There's so many components that go into that.
Yeah, we have a rule sometimes with our show, No Age or Profession, which creates an instant, I feel like a lot of these dates, you're just talking about your job, how old you are half the time. So right away, like talk about tone, stage, lighting, all that's important. But right away, like that kind of creates a vibe right away that you're going to get to know each other on a far deeper level. Like it could be very intimate questions. It could be vulnerable questions, really, that you won't answer on any other show.
Yeah, I was going to say, you ask a lot of questions that people are afraid to ask on the first couple dates. So what are some of those questions? Like, give us like top 3 questions you've asked that you think really gets people going, like, you know, cuts through the BS.
I think a lot of it's like what you do in private, right? I think it's talking about those things. What are you insecure about? Which we've moved a little bit away from, like those kind of questions, right? Because remember, there's a live audience there. Your question dictates their sort of response to it. The show's shifted in that regard. The tone's different. I think, like, what do your family and friends not know about you?
That's a good one.
Something I want to revisit that I used to always say. I used to start out the show saying, what's something you're blindfolded right now? You got nothing to lose. We're loose. We're having fun. And then I would lead into saying, like, hey, what's something you would not only not share with your friends, your parents, but not want to share with anybody? Because we're in a room right now that's a whole different experience. You're in an illusion. And then people suddenly would maybe share something. It's almost like less the question, kind of with what I just said. It's setting up the stage for it. And that's what gets you to the most interesting things. I love Howard Stern. That was like my influence. And he does that with how he asks questions.
How do you think like the blindfoldedness component contributes to it?
There's an illusion there, right? Where you really do have to show you're not distracted by look or what someone's wearing. It's almost like you're flying. Like we've joked that it's like skydiving. I think the blindfold part, you really have to get to know someone on a personality level. You're not judging them by their looks or anything like that. It creates a different vibe. And look, when the blindfolds come off, people do make some interesting decisions and choices, and that's always like one of the wildest moments of the show when they hit it off personality wise and blindfolds come off and they say no. But usually they say no for like the most like superficial reason, not even I'm not attracted to you, like, oh, you're not this height, or oh, like, why are you wearing 2 rings? You're a guy, you know. It's like, yeah, which is cringy in another way. So
yeah, they come up with excuses. We used to do our show a little differently, which gets you, we used to have people report on each other midway, but it didn't work because venues, like people could hear in another room, like, but in the moment, sometimes they come up with an excuse or something. But we've seen that though. And then after the show, they do vibe, right? Like there is like that. Yeah. That's another part of updating, which we're obviously going to explore in the future. But we've had nights where there's no vibe on stage. And after the show, like they could end up chatting and suddenly there's a vibe. Kind of like my first date.
Yeah, I was going to say it's both of your stories that are coming through.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm kind of not surprised that people find that like little ick. Like the 2 rings or whatever, like, because that's so dating culture in general. Like we see this all the time off stage as well. Like, why do you think people are doing it? Is it like a defense mechanism?
I think defense mechanism. And yeah, I agree with you. I like the 2, you know, almost like the 2-day rule, I feel like is really healthy. And I have friends who go on dates with girls and, you know, they have too many tattoos or something. And I'm like, just give her another date. Give her one more chance, right? Because I think you kind of do need 2 dates to get to know. So similar to our show, like they technically had their first date on stage. Their second date is at this after party. So they're giving each other more time. Yeah, I think it's like a confidence thing too. Maybe.
Yeah.
What I like about your show is like you give the audience a chance to profess their attraction towards someone, who is on stage. And I like that because it's not about showing like, oh, if you don't get a date from this, then it's over. It's like there's no scarcity here. Like there's a lot of people who are interested in you. So can you talk a little bit about why you use that audience component? I find that so interesting.
Well, the audience component's interesting because it started from like early on with updating where like we had dates where there would be no vibe right away or something. Also, when we started updating, the blindfolds came off immediately. There was no date blindfolded.
I know.
And we would like need to fill time. Like we're like, wait, what do we do? Also, and we kind of tried that. And that kind of became Harrison's role of like the facilitator between the audience and the stage while I'm on stage. And I would turn to him saying, what's going on out there? It almost is like it created a like parallel universe within the show you're watching live. And what's better than a show where the story never ends? We have had nights where if we wanted, we probably could do a 4-hour show where people just keep switching and coming, like just from a storyline perspective. And also, no, from a live experience. If I went to, like, if you like someone up there, like we don't have rules. We'll give you a shot. Come on up at the end, A
lot of couples actually end up dating from more of that element than when we met.
Interesting.
Which is cool.
The organic. Yeah.
Yeah, we have an engagement. They were at our show last week. If you actually look at our last YouTube episode, in the intro, they're sitting in the front and I congratulate them. He was on stage a year and a half ago. We did an elderly show. He came up for like a cougar.
Wait, when you say elderly, how old?
I know.
S19E15. Like,
oh, wow.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, it was like 40.
Yeah.
I was like, watch it.
Yeah. But he came up. The woman obviously didn't want to. And then the girl was telling her friends at her table, I'm so into this guy. And they encouraged her to go up to him like after the show. I don't know, at like a bar we went to. We did an after party. Yeah, they literally are getting married.
Wow.
Cool.
Insane.
It's so interesting because we are hearing from our audience more and more that people are looking for outlets like this. I mean, obviously to get entertained from a show, but also to meet people because people are tired of dating apps. They're tired of going to places where it's not fruitful. So we're hearing like speed dating come back or matchmakers or interactive events like this. What's your take? Like, why do you think people are craving this so much right now?
I mean, it's something we think about with our show. We're actually launching, it's called After Hours, and it's an interactive way. So if you're in the audience, we're starting to set up matches with someone else in the crowd. So you fill out a couple questions and we're going to match with one person in the live audience. So for those listening, when you come to update, that's going to be a cool part. Yeah, I definitely think that the dating app fatigue, I know it's been talked about for a couple of years, but I truly, now it's fully hit a wall. Like the running club, everything's about IRL. Like nostalgia's coming back, too much tech, too much dating app stuff. So that's the way we see it.
Yeah.
It's so funny how like cyclical it is because UA and I are elder millennials and we came from a world where you like went out to bars and it was kind of exhausting because you never actually met anyone. And then when dating apps came on the scene, it was like this, oh my God, now we have so many options. There's all these like ways to meet people. And then the younger generation has been like tech. And they're just like, how do I get away from it? So it's fascinating to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's similar with a lot of culture, honestly, like fashion, music, like things are kind of cyclical always, right? There's always like, 20, 30 movies, 20, 30 years, and then that factor comes back. Yeah, I mean, I knew dating apps were kind of becoming toast when people would match with the same person on multiple apps. I'm like, okay. I met, like, here's this person on Bumble, and I'm like, okay, the whole thing makes no sense right now.
Especially you guys saying that in New York City, like the biggest population ever.
Oh my God. Like you would say, okay, if I don't see them on this, I'll see them on that. That's just insane. So
yeah. I was 26 when I lived in Kips Bay. And I remember going to all the bars on 3rd and every night just being like, I wish it was a better way to meet people than going to bars and going out. I was thinking about like if apps existed when I lived in Kips Bay, how different it would be. When both of you met your partners, were you also on the apps too?
Yeah, maybe I was on Hinge, like, but I was done with it. Like maybe I would have gone back in a few months, but like I was like in person.
But you had obviously used them a lot prior.
I enjoyed it at times, right? Like, it's like, I felt it was plans. Like when I was during the pandemic, and I know Harrison would do this. He even influenced me. He's like, dude, have fun a random week. schedule like 7 dates in a row. And I was like, all right, let me try that.
And then take a month off.
That's depressing.
Yeah, it's a tough life. I was on Raya briefly.
How fancy.
Fancy. Now it's not that cool. Back when I was on Raya, we had John Mayer on the app.
Oh, really? Before he lost his finger or after?
Recently, he cut it on a guitar.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He's not on Raya anymore for that. They were like, nope,
Yeah,
you're off.
I guess.
Yeah, you need all your
fingers only.
I guess before and yeah, after I met Marin, my girlfriend, I just stopped swiping right away. I was very excited to delete. I mean, there's fatigue too when you've been single for like years and years. Like you just get like her and I were both just so over this stuff. We were just both ready, We had done the thing, as they say.
Obviously, updating is clearly a way that people meet people, but in your opinions, what other ways in real life do you think have worked for people either that you know or yourselves?
I think my story is a good testament. Just say how you feel. Don't worry what people think. If you're at a grocery store and like you ran into the same girl 3 times, like, go like listen to yourself. Like think about how you feel. And I think that's a good method for anything.
And I think true to Brandon's story, and we have another friend who met a girl in his building. I think your building, your 1 block radius.
Untapped resource.
If you see someone cute in the elevator, say hello. Or don't say hello and then DM her or him saying that you saw them in the elevator, but like didn't want to bother them. Like you could try one or the other.
Yeah, we have a friend seriously dating a girl in his building. He had been DMing her for like a year and she never noticed. And one day, like he DM'd her after seeing her in the elevator and she's like, wait, you're that guy. Like I never DM'd you because I didn't like your icon thing.
What?
Now they're full-blown dating.
That just shows like how different the vibe when you actually meet someone is. I mean, I think even for dating apps, like I'm pro dating app. I met my partner of over 3 years on a dating app. I absolutely think they work. But I think where people get in the way is like making all these snap judgments. It's like until you meet in person, like that's the only way you're going to know.
It's the only way. We have a friend on a dating app, and he's very direct with his first message. It's like, hey, I want to take you on a date.
Yeah, I was horrible at writing message. I kind of had to do that. I don't know how to text. I used to do voice notes after, like,
one of those.
That would chase people away. Yeah.
But I like that, though, in some way, because it shows your personality more.
Totally.
I mean, I obviously think, like, there has to be some rapport built to, like, make you feel comfortable to meet a stranger. But until you're there, like, we put so much emphasis on these, like, things that, like, are just not accurate portrayals of someone that can't give us insight into who they are in any way. I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners.
Cuffing season, or as we like to call fluffing season, is here. Want to add some holiday cheer into the bedroom? Spice up your life with the natural power of cannabis with Via. Via has developed a unique blend of pleasure-enhancing cannabinoids, libido-strengthening herbs, and a medium dose of THC all into one mind-blowing gummy called High Love. And they just dropped their High Love bundle, which includes a pack of gummies and a vape, so you can unlock the full experience at a reasonable price. I am all about these gummies that make me feel so good. I tell you, it's the real deal. And if THC isn't for you, you can still take advantage of their CBD line with products designed for sleep, focus, and energy that will keep you glowing all year long. So if you're 21 or older, head to viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE to receive 15% off. That's VIIAHEMP.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Take your passion and pleasure to a whole new level with High Love from Via Hemp. It feels so great when you can get someone a gift they wouldn't necessarily get for themselves. It's like a little reminder that they're worth it. So for quality gifts at an affordable price, my go-to is Quince. There's something for everyone. And I truly think you can't go wrong with their cashmere line, including their iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at just $50. I actually just got the short sleeve version in brown, and it looks so luxe paired with some white slacks and brown loafers. Hello, rich auntie vibes. And for whatever you're looking for, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They can do this by partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, which passes the savings on to you. Gift to luxury this holiday season without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/dateable for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dateable.
The holiday season is right around the corner, and I know the perfect gift that I will most definitely be giving this year. Osea's limited edition Super Glow Body Set. It includes 3 of Osea's best-selling body care products at an incredible value, packed in a box so beautiful you can skip the wrapping paper. This is gifting made easy. We've said it before on the podcast, but both Yue and I are obsessed with their new Undaria Algae Body Wash, which is part of the set. But all of the products in this set, the body wash, body oil, and body serum, feel like you're taking a luxurious trip to the spa. They just leave your skin feeling silky soft and unbelievably glowing. So maybe while you're at it too, you'll want to grab one for yourself. But hurry before this limited edition sells out. Give the gift of glow this holiday season with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now we have a special discount for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with the code DATEABLEPODCAST at OseaMalibu.com.
We had a friend that basically lost his mind over texting. Like, he literally would send a text message to 30 different people.
I know.
And I think he hired a research team to analyze a girl's text.
Oh my God.
Like,
Stop.
We saw what it does to you. Like, texting doesn't mean anything. My girlfriend took 8 hours to end. She's like, I'm just not on my phone during the day. And I think like maybe our second date, it came up. I was like, by the way, what's your style with texting so I don't get in my head? She's like, yeah, I don't know. During the week, I don't look at my phone. I'm like, great. Then we don't need to. We never text it.
Yeah, you don't have to make up stories.
I love the way you said that, because people are always like, how do I bring it up? And like, it doesn't need to be this like weird, like, what's your communication style? I just love that you were like, what's your vibe so I don't get in my head? Like, that's all you need to know.
I love that. That's well said. A lot of people are afraid to be direct.
Yeah.
The minute you're in your head, like, oh, should I say this, say that? It means it ain't going to work, whatever it is. I'm not saying always, right? Like, there's people that do that.
Yeah.
But like, if you're unconsciously just never thinking about those things and suddenly you're with someone, like, that's kind of how it works. Like, you're just going to.
Yeah.
When I asked her about the texting thing, if I had thought of that, premeditated it beforehand, it would mean it's probably not right.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I was just like, by the way, like, I remember it just came up. Like, even that, I just remember that. There was no thought that went into that.
We get in our heads.
So maybe that's a good segue to approaching, because people definitely get in their heads when they see someone out and about. And like, Brandon, your story of just being like, I'm just going to say I'm interested in this person. Like, that is so nice. But like, how do people let it flow more and don't get in their heads and don't get intimidated by the approach?
Yeah.
Maybe have a go-to line, not a cheesy pickup line, but if you're a how are you person, hey, how are you? Or if you're a beautiful day today, just have that like line to open the conversation, I think is really helpful.
I would just be like, I'm depressed today. Like I just speak what I'm saying. There's no premeditation to my like I always just said how I felt. Like, if I want to talk to someone, I'll go up to them. I'll be like, you also like not feeling good today? Like, I'm not. Like, and you see what they like, there's not.
Are you also depressed today? That's your
Yeah, I literally.
We should run an experiment on that. I'd love to see people's reactions.
You know, I definitely did stuff like that. And just being honest, like, you know, I can't think of a scenario, but like, you just got to say how you feel. And people will usually like that.
What about getting out of the friend zone? Because Harrison, you did that. And my last 2 relationships were acquaintances turned, you know, into something more. How would you advise people to make that transition?
I think what I was really in my head about was I made this whole thing like, oh my God, like if you make a move, the friendship is ruined. I'd known this girl for 3 months. Like, you know, we were friends, but we weren't like lifelong, like childhood best friends or family friends. So if I made a move and she wasn't into it, and let's say our friendship broke, life would have moved on. You know, this wasn't like a integrated friendship over the course of my life, right? So I think every situation's a little bit different. Look, you also, the physical part is important too. Like, you could have a little crush on a friend and then you kiss or you do other stuff and it's just the pheromones are off. Right away, that's a deal breaker too. So you kind of got to feel that out.
That's a good point. That's something I didn't bring up on my first date. There was a smell that I just love. I don't know what it is. I still don't know what it is, but like that is actually such a big thing that everyone overlooks. And I know it has nothing to do with smelling good or bad.
Yeah.
There's a certain scent sometimes. It's literally like serum and it's like a drug. I think that's a huge thing.
I'm curious though, Harrison, because at the beginning you said like you were platonic friends. Like, was there always like something about her? Or was it really like, I didn't believe that she would like me, and that's why I put myself in the friend zone?
I think there was always something about her, for sure. I didn't think she liked me romantically. And so I just put her in the friend zone kind of thing. And yeah, I was just like kind of afraid to make a move. And it was crazy. I mean, we joke about it now, looking back. It was insane because she was into me. She's a little bit more on the shy side, I think, initially, which is interesting. And, you know, we joke. We saw this clip, this TikTok of Adam Brody, and he was talking about his wife, Leighton Meester. And they were friends first, and he was smitten with her. And he was like, look, she was totally fine. If I never made a move, she would have been fine with that. Like, and I think Marin, who I'm with, if I never made a move, I think life would have just moved on. Like, she's that kind of person. So she wanted me to kind of make the first move in a way.
When you felt more comfortable to make that move, though, did you feel like you were starting to see signs of interest?
Definitely. Yeah, the writing was on the wall. I invited her to New Year's Eve with one of my best friends who's married, his wife. It was a double date from the outside. I'm like, you knew this was a double date. She would have been so naive if she thought like nothing. It's the four of us on New Year's Eve, my friends who are married.
Yeah.
If she totally thought like this was just a friend thing, like that would have been so insane. So clearly, like, she accepted that invitation. So there was some signs here. The fact that she was down to come to Tokyo when we were just friends, like I saw enough signs, and then my brain switched to, okay, she's into you. You got to just kind of put this to bed. This is crazy. I was in my own head, like what Brandon was saying. Like I was very in my head, for sure.
So I think one thing we see with people that want to meet people more organically, want to meet in real life, is that they're looking for that like magical place. Like we've heard of people be like, well, you know, my hobby is at an animal shelter, but there's no single girls there. Or like, what do I do? And it's expecting like this kind of one and done. Like I'll immediately meet someone when I go out. In both of your stories, like time happened. And also like Brandon, like yours was like a network effect, right? Like you had a friend that had a friend. And I think sometimes people are short-sighted about IRL. Like they're looking at it as like that silver bullet because apps are hard. What advice would you have for people to play like more of that long game and let things develop more organically, whether it's friends first or meeting through friends of friends?
I mean, you just said it. I mean, that's a really good way to put it. It's a network effect, and it's speaking what you're looking like. You have to speak your unconscious, but also speak what you want into existence. So if I have 10 separate friends in a circle and each of them know I'm looking for someone, one of those 10 people may know 20 people, and then it's a dot connecting thing. I think it is time and that. Like that is the real, like you could sit on an app and say, I'm going to swipe 800 times tonight and I'm going to take off tomorrow, or you could just live and do it that way.
I love that. Yeah. And I truly think more people need to stop saying like, oh, let me go date. Like start with a friend. Let me go make a new friend, a guy or a girl. If you make that new friend, all of a sudden you have a new network of people that you can meet someone through. So why don't you just say like, yeah, let me go make new friends, and you're giving yourself a better chance to meet someone romantically too.
Like a relationship is business, right? It's no different than the way you would do like partnerships or sales, right? You're meeting a partner and you meet people through networking. I know people where they haven't met someone. My girlfriend has a friend who really wants to meet someone, but she does a great job. I'm one of the people. I've set her up on a couple dates. She's always saying what she wants. So if I come across something, I'll be like, hey, she hasn't met someone yet, but I look at her and I go, this girl's doing it right. Like she's got friends, she's chatty, she's networker, like she just gets set up on dates and hasn't found something yet, but that's the way to do it, you know?
What about all the people who say, oh, all my friends are married and all their friends are married and there's just no single people in my network? What would you say to those people?
There's always someone single in there.
There is always at least one single person.
And if they're not single now, they will be.
There you go.
Also make new friends, right? There's always single people out there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny, if that's you, then take the other approach, right? Like it's like you can't play hockey if you don't know how to skate, right? You gotta make more friends and then you'll meet their friends, and you know. I think living and time are what do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
The only way you won't meet someone is if you just stay at home all day.
Right.
Stare at the wall, count on your existing network, but not get out there, join a kickball league, go to, a wine club.
That's so true. I mean, Harrison and me he's been with Lauren a little while. I've been with my girlfriend, and you do sometimes meet someone, and with your own life, maybe you're not going out as much or doing as much, and there's other ripple effects of other parts of your life. Like Harrison and me did a meeting yesterday in person. We're like, wow, we just got a month's value in one thing. I think that's regardless of a relationship. You should just always be out and meeting people. Like that's just a life thing that will have a ripple effect in every aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I think this conversation has been so eye-opening for many ways. And I think my biggest takeaway from it, it's like we're always like IRL versus dating apps or like these two things. It doesn't, first of all, we've said this before, it doesn't have to be one or the other, like just make it more inclusive. But I think the piece that I'm really gathering from this, it's even more evident. It's not IRL, but it's community. It's like, how do you keep building that community where you're getting to know people? And like even with the updating shows, it's like the people in the audience, the vibe of where you're at with like everyone is in this collective experience together. I think that's what's missing in today's world. Like the pandemic kind of stripped away a lot of those experiences, and that's like what we're hungry for. I mean, of course you can meet people in bars. I'm not saying it's impossible, but like there's a reason why we were all gravitated to like dating apps at one point, like just showing up with complete strangers where no one knows anyone. It's a hard uphill battle to meet people sometimes. But when you're in these environments that feel more communal and like friendships can kind of form, I think that's when it becomes easier. And then also my other takeaway too is like, even if you use apps, like again, I'm still very pro apps. I think they are a great way to meet people. I saw personally for the 2 relationships that I was in from apps, why it worked is because my first dates were not that like daterview. They were not like the date talk. It was like cutting to more of that friendship. And I think it's absolutely possible on dating apps or like even if you meet someone in the wild at a bar, for instance, I do think it takes conscious like work to be like, I'm not going to go there and ask like what their occupation is. Like all these like date talk, like get it out on the app ahead of time if you need to. It's also in their profile, so you don't even need to ask. It's literally there. Just like feel like you're like talking to a friend. I think that like is what makes connection happen.
Well said.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think that the basis of any good relationship is a friendship, but we do it kind of backwards in dating. Like we have to have the chemistry and the butterflies and all of that first before we say, oh, do I actually like this person as a friend? I know that before my deeper relationships later, my earlier relationships, I would not have been friends with them, these dudes. Like there's no way.
That's just,
right?
Yeah.
But like as a romantic partner, I was like, yeah, I'll subscribe to that. But as friends, no, I would never be friends with them. And now that's kind of like my focal point is, could I be friends with this person first and foremost? Do I even like them as a friend? And then build a relationship from there. Once you have the foundation, it's easy to build something when both people are willing to. But if you don't have the foundation, it's an uphill battle.
You're absolutely right.
Both of you were able to do that. And I love this idea of having the power to turn around a situation at any point.
Yeah.
Like on a date or in a relationship or in a conversation, if you're like, this is not going great, but I'm just going to try something different here to turn things around. And if things don't turn around, at least I did my best to do something about it. We just don't give each other enough time. Julie talked about this earlier too. It's like, we know people who do like a 5-minute coffee date and they gauge chemistry from there. But what do you really know from that? Like you would have never known that you had a bad stomach within 5 minutes. Like you easily hide
5 minutes.
Wow.
You don't know anything in 5 minutes.
You don't know anything. The vulnerability comes with time. So I think like this idea of if I just give this a little bit more time and I'm putting in a little effort to change things around, what could be different? And that's a good question to ask. So much fun. When's your next show? There's one tomorrow. Where are you all going next?
We're going everywhere. We're about to announce a huge winter tour. We'll be back. I know you guys are in San Francisco.
Oh, great.
We'd love to. I actually love doing shows in San Francisco. It's like one of my
It's fun.
favorite cities. We're going to be everywhere.
Okay, we'll be there for those ones. We're excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to meet you guys. You've never been to one of our SF shows?
We have not. We need to come.
I know. What's been going on?
We need to come. We've reconnected. It's all good.
We go way back. This mini community on this podcast is back. It's fully back.
Yeah.
You know, if you go to our website, updateandshow.com, you can see all of our upcoming shows. We'll be across the U.S., wherever you are.
Great.
January, February, and come to Update and you'll laugh hysterically, and maybe you'll meet someone at the after party.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, listeners, let us know if you meet someone.
One thing with dating, we didn't even go, if you're laughing with someone, it'll just make, that's the key, right? At the end of the day, that's all that matters in a relationship, the humor. And that was the other thing on my first date. My girlfriend is funnier than me, and I'm just like, this is addictive. I want to laugh. So come laugh. And thank you guys so much for interviewing us today. I had a fun time on here.
Yeah, this was great.
Thanks for being on our show. This is so wonderful. To all of our listeners, what did you learn from this episode? Why don't you give us a rating and review, 5 stars in Apple Podcasts? In the body of your review, tell us what you learned about dating IRL or updating, any anecdotes
Connection.
or little
Friendship.
love notes there. Yes, friendship, building rapport, any of that. Put that in there. And then while you're there, why not pre-order our book, How to Be Dateable? You can go to howtobedateable.com. Book comes out January 2025. And we talk a lot about dating IRL and maximizing your time, no matter where you're looking for people. So, all right. With that, we're going to wrap up this episode. Thanks again, Harrison and Brandon.
Stay dateable.